from Kalmar, Sweden. I am here looking into my great-grandfather, Charles Brundin, international man of mystery. This has to be the best family story that we have. Charles Brundin. So, prior to coming to Sweden, I was having a hell of a time trying to find any documents at all about Charles Brundin. Basically nothing. Basically, I was coming to Sweden thinking, okay, well, I know his name's Charles Brundin, I know he's from Kalmar, and that was about it. So I booked a day in Kalmar just to see it because I knew that was where he was from. I've had tremendous help from my relatives in Sweden to track down this side of the family. So Charles Brundin actually wasn't his real name. So the story goes. Charles Brundin was actually born Axel Hilding Samuel Nilsson. He was born August 20th in 1888, and I found the records for him, and he was born the same day as what it says in Charles Brundin's obituary in Kalmar. So yeah, and there's lots of other records that say that this was the case. So why did Axel Hilding change his name to Charles Brundin? So the story goes, Axel Hilding was married in Kalmar to a woman named Annie Victoria Gunberg Olsen. They were born the same year. They were married in Kalmar May 7th, 1916. And what happened? So there are two different stories. One is that there was some kind of skiing accident and a man died and he was going to get blamed for it. The other story is that someone sexually assaulted his wife and he actually did kill the man. Either way, someone died. He thought he was going to get charged for murder. His best friend just passed away, so he stole his best friend's passport and used his name and entered Canada using Charles Brundin, and left his wife behind. And then he met that was in 1924, and then he met my great-grandmother, Laura Maria Stolhanska, aka Mai, or as all the grandkids called her, Gimai. And he had 3 kids. 1930 he had my grandmother's brother Leif. 1933 he had my grandmother's sister Elsa Viola Brundin. And then in 1935, he had my grandmother, Ingrid Dagny Brundin. And he went on to start the Swedish press in Vancouver with my great-grandmother. I think he wasn't the first to start it, but he came in very early on. I have on record that he was a typograf, which means like a printmaker, in Kalmar before he left. And so Axel Hilding Samuel Nilsson, this is another thing. His on record is a typograf, and Charles Brundin was a typograph, so it's another evidence that supports that. And they worked for the Swedish press, and it's now the world's largest Swedish language newspaper. My great grandmother Laura Maria, or Gimai, I call her Gimai. So Gimai wrote many articles for the Swedish press under the name Röksignaler, or smoke signals. I guess she didn't want to use her female name, probably. And after doing some digging, I found out that apparently there's more interesting stuff. This was quite the fellow. I wish I had a picture of him. I'll have to track one down. I've never seen what he looks like. So apparently, after doing some digging, relatives had told me that there was a massive argument after his first daughter was born, my grandmother's sister Elsa, because he wanted to name the daughter after, dun dun dun, his first daughter in Sweden. So Charles Brundin, or Axel Hilding, aka Charles Brundin, left behind not only his wife but a daughter in Sweden. And the name in question was Viola, And Elsa's middle name is in fact Viola, and when I looked up the record of Axel Hilding Samuel Nilsson, his daughter, second name Viola. His father was unregistered, so he was a bastard, you might say, and they didn't really, like, the family didn't really understand where his money was coming from, because he didn't have, like, a family from back home to support him and his move to Canada. Like, he had no money, and yet they were doing okay. And so the story goes, my great aunt Elsa, my grandmother's sister, found a box of sort of like monthly financial statements, like receipts or financial statements from the Swedish royal family. You can take all of this with a grain of salt, but I had heard these stories kind of floating around growing up, and I just thought, oh, whatever. But the more I dig into things, the more I'm finding that pretty much everything is true so far. So yeah, so when Elsa asked him about it, he said he was the bastard son of King Oscar. I feel ridiculous saying this, but that's what the story is, and he had the financial statements from the king to prove it. Maybe one day the Swedish royal family will, like, do a DNA test and I'll have a hit or something, but I don't know, whatever. Yeah, so then I guess the same year that Leif was born, my grandmother's brother, his daughter passed away in Sweden, and the record says Hjartblag, Hjartblag, Hjartblag. And when you look it up, it says heartbeat, but I asked someone else and it's like a stroke, but maybe a heart attack. I'm not sure. Her heart stopped or something. But she was only 12 years old, and I can't help but think that maybe if her father was there, that, you know, maybe she would have survived, because I can imagine it would have been quite difficult in those times without a father. I mean, in any time without a father. So I was thinking what I should go see in Kalmar, because I don't really have any addresses, because it's changed quite a bit, to go see anything from Axel Hilding, aka Charles Brundin. But I've been on quite the mission today. I've been down to the Central Cathedral and the records office, asking maybe I can find the grave of Annie and Anhild, his wife and daughter, and pay my respects. And so I rented a bicycle, and there are two graves or two cemeteries in Kalmar from those days. One of them is the southern grave in our cemetery, and that's by the castle, and then there's the northern grave. So I went to the southern first because it's closer, and then the groundskeeper helped me find the grave. It wasn't there, so I had to cycle across town to the northern one, but I'm here to pay my respect. Well, let's go see. Okay, so we'll go take a walk. You can see that's the church in the middle of the cemetery, or kyrk in Swedish. Okay, and if anyone wants to come in the future from my family, it's the North Cemetery, and it's number 2, whatever that means, but it's plot area number 8, so KV number 8. And then down here we have their grave. So they are number, see that, 606. I don't know if it's very clear. Maybe it's clear if I do that. No, that's worse. yeah, so here they are in the urn at the top. Maybe move that. Yeah, so Annie and Anhild, mother and daughter of Axel Hilding. So I've come here today to say thank you from my side of the family, basically for sacrificing your husband and father. So Annie never remarried. She never had any more children. So her line died off, and ours continues in a way because they lived without a husband and father. So I've bought them some flowers here from the shop. They're some chrysanthemums, and we'll just plant them for them. Okay. So there you have it. Yeah. Thank you, Annie and Anhild. See you next time. And yeah, I don't know what else to say. I'm at a loss of words. I just feel like sad and grateful for them, and I just want to just be respectful. Yeah. Okay, I'm gonna get on with things and go catch my train.